back of the dish, as plain as day, was the eagle and swastika with the year 1942.
That proved that the wreck was a German U-boat from World War II.
It shouldn't be there. According to the war records, there isn't supposed to be a U-boat for 100 miles in either direction.
In the silent veil of night off the Atlantic coast, a team of divers prepares for a perilous expedition. They are not chasing treasure. They are seeking truth, a truth buried for over half a century beneath the ocean's depths. Their journey will take them 60 miles offshore and backward in time to the final days of World War II. Beneath the frigid waters, where light fades and sound is swallowed, they begin their descent. Each meter deeper is a step into a realm of memory erased from history. The pressure mounts, the temperature plummets, the steady rhythm of breathing echoes through their headsets. Then, in the midst of the darkness, a beam of light catches something metallic, a massive steel structure resting silently on the sandy seabed. No signals, no markings, no clues to its identity. As they draw closer, a shape emerges long, cylindrical, its hull corroded, with rows of steel valves protruding like the ribs of some ancient beast. This is no cargo ship, no fishing vessel. It is a submarine, a steel coffin. Entombed in mud and silence for nearly 50 years, as they touch its rusted surface, clouds of iron dust rise like ashes. A heavy steel hatch creaks open, and cold water rushes in. What they find inside defies all expectations. Secrets long buried begin to surface, challenging everything history has claimed. What lies hidden within this vessel? And why was its story erased from the records of war? The answers lie in the darkness, at the bottom of the ocean, and tonight they are about to awaken it. U-869, a pinnacle of Nazi Germany's war machine, built to sow terror beneath the seas. Launched in 1943, it stretched nearly 76 meters long, weighed over 1,000 tons, and carried 6 torpedo tubes with enough fuel to cross half the Atlantic without resupply. The Type 1 C-40, a luxury sedan of death, was engineered to dive deep, move like a shadow, and vanish before its enemies could react. Its commander, Helmuth Neuerberg, aged 28, was among the coldest and most disciplined captains in the fleet. His mission: infiltrate Allied waters, strike, and retreat without a trace. Each voyage, U-869 carried 56 crewmen, young men in their 20s, packed into a steel tube where air, oil, and fear mingled into an indescribable metallic stench. Above, the war was nearing its end, but below the waves, the hunt raged on. German U-boats were deployed like desperate chess pieces of a crumbling empire, aiming to cripple the Allies' final supply lines. U-869 was one such piece. It left port with clear orders: patrol, attack, do not report. No one knew that. Mere months later, the submarine would vanish. No signal, no coordinates, no explanation. For 4 decades. The name U-869 lingered only in a faded line of a German naval report, a ghost presumed lost in the Mediterranean. But now, in the heart of the Atlantic, it lies before the divers' eyes, just hours from the American coast. One question remains: how did Hitler's war machine end up here? According to wartime records, U-869 was ordered to patrol near the Strait of Gibraltar, one of the fiercest battlegrounds of naval warfare. Where Allied and Axis ships clashed relentlessly, the orders were clear: hold position, ambush, and disappear without a trace. But something went wrong. In February 1945, a U.S. patrol ship reported sinking a German U-boat near Gibraltar. The U.S. Navy claimed the victory, recording it as U-869. The file was signed, sealed, and shelved. No one verified, no one questioned. Meanwhile, in Germany, U-boat command fell silent. They assumed U-869 was lost in action. Its 56 crewmen were declared dead. Their families received cold. Official letters? No funerals? No graves, just a line etched on a memorial: U-869 lost at sea. But no one knew the truth. U-869 never reached Gibraltar. It was not sunk by the U.S. Navy. It had vanished thousands of miles to the west, and for 40 years, no one noticed. As the world moved beyond the war, U-869 lay silent beneath the Atlantic, waiting to be found, waiting to tell its story, a ship forgotten by history, a ghost in the deep. Summer, 1991. Off the coast of Point Pleasant, New Jersey, a team of seasoned divers, John Chatterton, Richie Kohler, and their crew embarks on a routine expedition. They call it the Junkyard Run, navigating waters littered with wrecks from both world wars, a metallic graveyard beneath the ocean. But on this dive, their sonar picks up an anomaly, a long, slender object at a depth of 70 meters, unlike any recorded wreck. Chatterton and Kohler decide to investigate. As their lights sweep across the wreck, they know instantly this is no cargo ship. The curved steel hull, the deck structure, the torpedo valves all point to a German U-boat. But this is impossible. According to naval records, no German submarine was ever sunk near New Jersey. The first dive is chaotic, strong currents, visibility mere meters, fishing nets tangled in the steel frame. Yet they return again and again. They need to know who this ship is. They find fragments inscribed with German text, gauges, and then a small but pivotal discovery that changes everything: a rusted butter knife. Etched on its handle is the name Henberg. That name leads them to the records of Georg Horenberg, an electrician aboard U-869. Chatterton and Kohler realize they have found the submarine lost for over 40 years, not in Gibraltar, but off the coast of America. A discovery that forces naval history to be rewritten. But with this truth comes a new question. Why is U-869 here? Who ordered it to America's eastern shores? And what truly sank it, its enemies, or itself? From the moment they found that small knife, the lives of John Chatterton and Richie Kohler were forever changed. They became obsessed with the name etched in steel Henberg, not just a piece of metal, but the only clue to the identities of 56 souls swallowed by the sea. In their research room, they meticulously compared the lettering, combed through archives, and then the name matched perfectly with Georg Horenberg, an electrician on U-869. A single personal item had proven the entire U.S. naval history wrong. The submarine thought to have perished in the Mediterranean was, in fact, lying off America's coast. From that moment, U-869 was no longer an anonymous wreck. It became an underwater crime scene investigation. Each dive was like a detective stepping into a case frozen for nearly half a century. Inside the cramped steel compartments, they found clocks, switches, German-labeled pressure gauges all intact. In the mess hall, cracked porcelain plates, scattered cutlery, a sealed ration tin sat beside a decayed notebook. No bodies, no bones, only traces of life and of death. Then they found a broken mirror, the beam of a flashlight reflected, distorting the face of its holder. A chilling moment. Perhaps someone had looked into that mirror just before the submarine was consumed. Perhaps it was Horenberg, after months. The divers tracked down the only survivor, Herbert Gushevsky. He had served on U-869 but fell gravely ill before its final voyage. His illness saved him from death. When Chatterton and Kohler found him, Herbert was stunned to see the butter knife bearing his old comrade's name. He confirmed it instantly it belonged to the man he had worked alongside. Memories from 1944 flooded back, and for the first time in 50 years. He learned the truth: his ship never reached Gibraltar. It died in America. Herbert wept as he saw photos of the wreck. He whispered, "We lost everything. But now they've been found." That small butter knife had unlocked a forgotten world and forced history to admit its mistake. The greatest mystery remains unanswered. How did one of Germany's most sophisticated submarines end up dead off America's coast? No battle, no distress signal, and seemingly no attack. Two primary theories emerge. The first and most haunting is the circle of suicide. During World War II, faulty German torpedoes sometimes turned back, striking the very submarine that launched them. Evidence suggests U-869's hull was crushed from the inside out, consistent with an internal explosion. The torpedo tubes remained sealed, unopened, as if the crew had no time to react. A single moment of error and the ship became its own tomb. But the U.S. Navy believes a different story, that U-869 was destroyed by two American destroyers, USS Howard D. Crowe and USS Coiner, using depth charges in February 1945. Reports logged sonar contacts, underwater explosions, and a confirmed kill, yet, when cross-checked, the coordinates don't match. U-869 lies over 200 miles from the reported site, and the damage explosions radiating outward does not align with depth charges. Between these theories lies a third possibility: a covert mission. In 1944, Nazi Germany, in its desperation, launched final espionage operations on American soil, dispatching submarines carrying spies and technical documents. Could U-869 have been part of such a plan, a mission still classified to this day? If so, it didn't drift off course. It was sent here and erased from history after losing contact. No one knows what happened in those final moments. One thing is clear: U-869's death was no accident. It was the result of fateful decisions or a secret someone sought to bury. The submarine remains there, in eternal silence. All evidence lies intact, but the only ones who know the truth sank with it long ago. The ocean does not lie, but it never answers, either. As the divers venture deeper into the submarine, they know they are entering a place untouched since 1945. This is no longer steel or machinery. This is a tomb, a world frozen in the final moments of 56 lives. They navigate a narrow corridor, barely wide enough for one person to crawl through. The steel walls are cold, rusted. Each movement stirs clouds of silt, obscuring their vision. Under the dim yellow glow of their lights, objects emerge like fragments of memory bunk beds, tattered blankets, tin mugs, scattered cutlery, words hastily scratched into the walls. In the mess hall, they find a table still set with cracked dishes, an open ration tin, an overturned chair. No bodies. But the presence of humanity lingers, chillingly vivid. They discover a half-open locker containing leather gloves, a rusted harmonica, and a deck of cards sealed in plastic. Someone brought music to the deep, perhaps to pass the long, waveless nights. Everything lies still, waiting, as if abandoned only yesterday. In the control room, the buttons remain intact. Pressure gauges cracked, but needles frozen at their final reading before the explosion. Shattered glass litters the floor. You can almost hear it, the blaring alarms, frantic orders. Then silence in that fateful moment. At the torpedo bay where the weapons should have fired, everything is sealed. Not a single tube was opened. They didn't have time to act. An explosion came from within, swift and precise, leaving no chance for a final word. Amid the wreckage, Chatterton finds a broken mirror, its warped reflection catching his light. Perhaps someone adjusted their collar in it before the submarine was torn apart. That moment, preserved forever in the icy water. The entire space is a time capsule. The Atlantic. Somehow. Preserved it, all papers, uniforms, even a small Nazi flag folded in a locker. Time didn't destroy it, it only silenced it. John Chatterton later said, "When you dive a wreck, you're not just finding metal, you're finding people. You feel them still there, waiting for their story to be told." U-869 is no longer a weapon of war. It is a hidden graveyard in the dark where every breath, every laugh, every mistake of the past is frozen in the cold water. Yet, as the divers return to the surface, one question lingers, unanswered. If U-869 wasn't sunk but detonated itself, who ordered it here? And more crucially, why did they have to die in absolute silence? When U-869 was found dead off America's coast, a chilling question arose. Why was it here? No document, no report. Ever mention this submarine crossing the Atlantic? Officially. It was meant to be at Gibraltar, over 5,000 kilometers away. So who sent it to America's eastern shores? Some researchers believe U-869 wasn't lost. It was on a clandestine mission, ordered in the dying days of the Third Reich as Berlin grasped for a final reversal of fate. Evidence lies in declassified records. In early 1945, Germany launched Operation Elster, sending U-boats to America to deploy spies, deliver technical documents, and even strategic materials for new weapons projects. Most of those missions vanished without a trace. Was U-869 one of them? The deeper historians dig, the more anomalies surface. Communication logs between German command and U-869 abruptly stopped. Orders were issued, then canceled, replaced by short, encrypted messages meaningless to outsiders. A few surviving copies mention the ship being told to head west. Await further instructions, west toward the United States. Around the same time, the U.S. Navy recorded a faint Morse signal off New Jersey, too weak to pinpoint, but matching the frequency of German U-boats. The report was dismissed as noise. It was never mentioned again. If U-869 was indeed sent to America, what was it carrying? Some believe it held uranium, intended for negotiations with Japan as Germany neared defeat. Others suggest it carried SS operatives, tasked with sabotaging American industry in the war's final weeks. No theory is confirmed, but all share one trait: they demanded secrecy. When the divers reported their find, the U.S. Navy showed little enthusiasm. They rejected the secret mission theory, insisting U-869 was lost due to navigational error. Independent experts aren't convinced. If it was an error, why no distress signal? Why the absolute silence? And why did both governments choose not to probe further? Some believe both the U.S. and Germany had reasons to stay quiet. For America, admitting a German U-boat operated undetected off New York in 1945 was unthinkable. For Germany, revealing a desperate or failed secret mission would only deepen the shame of defeat. The story was thus sealed away. U-869 became a closed case on paper, but an open wound in the ocean. No one dared speak further. No one wanted to decode it. Yet as the divers' lights sweep across the rusted eagle emblem on the hull still intact, something becomes clear. There is something here that refuses to be forgotten. A secret that never left the depths. An order never rescinded. U-869 is more than a wreck. It is a message from the war sometimes. The most terrifying truths are not what we know, but what lies silent in the dark. waiting to be found. Since U-869 was confirmed off New Jersey, a fierce debate has raged among archaeologists and military historians. Two theories, two paths to death have clashed for decades. The U.S. Navy stands firm U-869 was sunk by two American destroyers, USS Howard D. Crowe and USS Coiner, with depth charges in February 1945. Wartime reports are clear: sonar detected a submarine. Bombs were dropped. An underwater explosion followed a confirmed kill. For them, the case is closed. But the wreck tells a different story. The torpedo tubes remain sealed, untouched. There are no signs of external attack. All damage radiates outward, steel walls buckled inward, the bow crushed. Independent researchers argue this points to an internal explosion, a faulty torpedo circling back to strike its own ship, a literal circle of suicide. Both sides have merit, both have flaws. A depth charge attack could explain the sonar signals the Navy recorded, but not the intact state of the stern. The circling torpedo theory accounts for the damage pattern, but fails to explain why communication signals align with the American attack. The truth lies somewhere between these extremes. Perhaps U-869 was damaged, tried to hide, then detonated when a faulty torpedo triggered. Perhaps it was never detected, simply ending itself in silence. No one can say for certain, only the ocean knows. And for 80 years, it has kept that secret in its silent depths.